Hello and welcome back to my GTNH playthrough. It is September 22nd, it's fresh back from the weekend. So this weekend did not really play, so in reality it was more uh, Monday's accomplishments that we'll be going over today. The only thing I really did do, so if you're astute or remember over here, this area is looking quite barren right now. I have started this remodel. I've done quite a bit of tearing down. This last section I finally just tore down today. But we'll get into that here in a second. So what I did do over the weekend was I kind of started laying out how I wanted to go about setting up this area. So I did have some trouble kind of like conceptualizing where I was going to lay everything out and how it's all going to flow together and be channel efficient, etc. So what I ultimately went with is I was originally going to have two different subnets. I was thinking I should have one for inputting from all the Alvarez up here and soon to be industrial apiaries down here, and then one for all the processing, and then ultimately the main net for some fluid insertion and some extraction, just depending on the item. I ended up scratching that idea. I mean, ultimately I could do all of that stuff just with two nets. What I did do, though, just to make sure I don't run into channel problems later, so this is the area where I decided to throw the control, kind of still pretending like I can't fly when I construct some of these like layout ideas. So if we come in here, the white network is our main network and it's popping out of the ground here, and then the yellow network is our sub network. So there's a lot of kind of junk going on right here. We've got a fluid storage and an item storage just to make all that stuff visible. These are set to extract only, so the main network doesn't actually dump stuff into the sub network. This one drawer is just stuff that I use in the drawer network that I didn't want to have to run individual channels off the main network, but I do use these items in crafting. Not so much this black granite dust. I can't remember why I had this on here in the first place, so I just left it here for the moment. But these different types of wood, I use the different types just to balance out what wood sources I'm using, especially because when I first set this up, like this particular drawer, where in its old position a long time ago, I didn't have the Ender IO farms, so I was more worried about running out of wood, which it actually looks like I've got decently low, so I'm gonna have to check on this birch one just to see what's up with that. But like I said, I went with just the two lines. I did end up doing two P2Ps for the main net out of here, though. I figure I'll have one for the upstairs and one for the downstairs, because I do think this is going to expand to quite a bit of stuff eventually. Right now, the only channel that's being used down here specifically is my assembly machine where I can call for recipes from the main network, like all the different Alvarez stuff. This sieve, for example, though, and I believe this frame housing, which I have to double check the recipe for. I might have to. Hold on 1 second. Frame housing. There's a reason I'm checking this. Okay, actually, I do need to fix something real quick. Before I forget. This one is where I can call for those things to be crafted, as well as though some of those recipes are used for auto crafting from the main network. But what I want to fix real quick, let me just dump a couple of these things. My inventory's been perpetually full as I've been tearing stuff down. I want this. I want this. So what I'm doing, I believe it's shift multi-stack input on. Okay, the multi-stack input's what I want. So specifically with recipes like this frame housing, if you're trying to have the AE system knock it out, where you have these items which cannot stack, if you do not do that multi-stacking on, these frames will end up just like will not, like, you won't get all four in. And then I actually want to set this to blocking mode to prevent jamming. So now all four frames will drop in and the recipe will process. I put on blocking mode so it doesn't like input them in a weird order and I end up with 8 frames in here and it jams it up. So I don't normally utilize blocking mode on most of these machines, but these ones where I do the multi-stacking on, I do blocking mode just to keep things from having problems. Which I'm actually kind of curious. Let me try an electrical stimulator, because I'm wondering now that I say that if having honey in here is going to prevent that from working. So let's experiment together. Electrical stimulator. If it does, I might just have to put the frame housing on a different assembly machine altogether and just do a proper fluid recipe. Start. We'll check back on this guy near the end of the video. So along with starting to set this up, I knew I was going to need a bunch of multi-blocks, so one of the things I started off by setting up this morning, just to keep pollution from being an issue, I set up 2 of these electric air filters. I set one there, one there. I also technically set one up at the base of this tower, but I didn't power it yet because I want to power it off of a future plan, and I don't really use it. Like, I'm not standing in this tower very often anymore. It's all just auto-crafting multi-blocks, so I'll come back and turn that guy on later. But, so those are set up. These 3, or 5 machines, I should say, plus these 2 technically, are what are used specifically for all the different crafting that goes into creating the alvarez. It's not really as important now, as I'm going to transition to industrial apiaries. But I still wanted this set up, and it actually technically is an improvement over before because I wasn't using the assembly machine. In the old setup, I had everything being stored in drawers, so I was using the drawers sometimes with the upgrade, downgrade, where you only could have one stack to just kind of to limit things from going too far. But now we're on AE. I set up these level maintainers to take care of this, and got the level maintainers and a couple crafting CPUs hidden behind this wall. I just went with cobblestone because I'm not sure what I want to make it at the moment, but we're still in the setup phase. As I did upgrade this stuff, I did like throw on some bandages for some processes I wanted to make sure I kept running. Let's see. And then some just in the back, or well, I'm kind of going out of order with this, but hold on a second. We go this. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're being astute, you might know what me being able to do this means for some of my other accomplishments. So I did set it up so that uranium is still being, and this phthalic acid still coming into these LCRs. These LCRs are not going to stay here, or if they are, it'll just be my 4 uranium ones, and I'm going to do some other ones. My goal is ultimately to basically do like lines of machines. So centrifuges I want a ton of, so this will be a whole line. Next up will be fluid extractors, which I did go through the process of setting up the fluid extractors in A2 for crafting the multi-block. I haven't set any of them up. They're a little bit I want to say complex of a multi-block, but it did require me to do a bunch of recipes specifically to get this MV solenoid superconductor. Everything else was set up, but this guy, I didn't have a recipe for this HE coolant, or the helium coolant, this aluminum pipe, not that that's a big deal, and then we needed superconductor MV wire, so that was a whole bunch of different recipes I had to go through and set up as well. Just little things. I'm trying to, as I change this, I want to do it right, so I'm like making upgrades as I go. One of the main things that kind of or I ended up doing was, now that I've got tons of platinum and I got that whole area set up, I did go about crafting IV energy hatches and immediately set up patterns for the 16 amp versions of both the IV and the dynamo hatches, as well as all the different transformer versions. So like if we were to come in here now, I did get like this was a new one, the 64 amp extreme power transformer, or EV, as well as just got the IV one in here, so I wouldn't need to worry about it later. Those are the way I'm basically doing this. I wanted to make sure I did that, or I guess to say, I wanted to make sure I do that first. That way I'm actually sending 4 amps of LUV around the base and then transforming it down. In this case, for example, where I just have some EV machines, I have it transforming down into EV, and then I'm using a diode to limit it down to be able to go through the 16 amp cable. And that's where I'm going to, like I did the same thing over here, although this is technically IV coming out right here to power these guys, because again, these guys need to run off at least IV power. But since I have the IV energy hatches, I was able to finally start overclocking for LUV, which is why now I have, for example, this erythral, or this wisp in here, which is slowly getting me all the erythral essences. The only reason I'm worried about this is not because I'm short on essence. Like, if my previous setup is way more than enough to ever need to worry about essence again. However, there were 5 that I was unable to get in the wild, or without destroying nodes and getting, like, it would have been like hours of searching. So instead, I just decided to hold off and wait for here. So for example, I don't know if I've gotten any of them yet, but ultimately, eventually, I should get all 5 in here. And then once I get enough to craft all 5 and finally set up those 5 final Bs and like let that essence build up, I'll just shut this guy off and it'll go back to whatever I need at the moment. Or I might even tear this down and create a different area for all my extreme entity crushers. But I threw this guy over here because all my other power things are, with the exception of the ore processing plant, are being used a ton. So but it is exciting to get the IV energy hatch, because that also technically means I was able to finally finish up like the last piece of the platinum line that I just kind of left hanging, or at least almost. I still haven't set up osmiridium to get smelted, which I needed LUV for as well, but to actually smelt the osmium I needed this guy, which, yeah, I keep struggling. Why is this out of power? What the hell? I probably need to reposition where the osmium is, like closer to the start of a line, or even, I might even drop it over here where it's the only thing getting pulled off, because it does keep running into power issues. Let's see, it only crafted 1 before running out, so I will figure all that, mess around with all that later. But that's pretty much it. My goals for tomorrow. Oh, actually, there was one more thing I crafted, which is because I was tearing down so much stuff. I did craft this Vajra. It made things a lot faster and is incredibly satisfying. So, for like example, whee! There was a comment about this guy, and I was kind of holding off on crafting him because I thought I needed the assembly line, which I don't know how to use yet, or like I haven't crafted one yet. I'm pretty sure I need to craft the next tier of circuits, which I do just to kind of like keep myself moving forward, like kind of like the EV energy hatches today. I'm gonna, at some point, tomorrow I'll probably set up the LCR to get the Cupid wafers, which are the only things I believe that are holding me back from going to the next tier of circuits, and just little things like that. Just kind of like I like having a project that's ongoing while just doing progress, because progress for progress sake is kind of a little boring from a playing standpoint, but I find it more engaging if it's like, okay, I want to have some EV energy hatches or IV energy hatches, let me get some upgrading here, or I want to have more power available around the base, so to do that I need the IV energy hatch, etc., and like doing progress that way. So the immediate goal is to get all this kind of swapped and rearranged and set back up, because basically, aside from uranium, everything else is shut down at the moment. So like I don't have salt being electrolyzed into chlorine, all that kind of stuff is kind of just on pause at the moment, because I did have it kind of going for a little bit. Like you can see random AE2 stuff going into places where I was deciding what I was doing. I kind of like what's it called, I would do iterations of tearing down, like tear a little thing down, make an improvement, etc. But now I finally just ripped the band-aid, tore all this stuff out, and I just need, tomorrow the goal will be just finish that out, get everything rearranged as I want, and then keep on moving on. So I'm going to get back to working on this. It's actually it's been a fun project. I'm enjoying doing it, and that's what I'm going to do the rest of the night and tomorrow. So I hope everybody else had a good day and a good weekend, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.